Go ahead and get started. And thank you for being here. And it's a small group today, but we'll be sending the recording out to everyone at the end of the hour. I'm Carrie Wallace, founder of FamGuru. I'm joined today by Manisa Lopez, all the way from Argentina. She's on our development team, so she's going to be here monitoring the chat, but you're also welcome to just ask questions along the way. And and we're going to go through and talk about a couple different parts to FamGuru. What is it that we're working on here at FamGuru? So we'll be taking you through to show you what FamGuru is, show you how it works, and to understand how it helps advisors traveling with you before the trip, becoming better prepared for your trip, during the trip, so that they can better capture and organize the learnings that they have while they're with you, and then after the trip, setting them up for sales success so that they can market your products and destinations like never before. And all of these things are great, but FamGuru's technology also happens to make this whole process of running and following up from Fam a lot easier. So we're going to show you a bit about what it is, and we'll dive right in. I'm going to say a few words about why is FamGuru important. And really, it's because the Fam trip is a marketing program, right? Everybody's investing time and money and effort into this aspect of our marketing budget. And both the suppliers are doing so. Obviously, you have a budget for this. And the advisors are too. They're spending money to be there in many cases, and they're taking time out of the office, which means they're not selling. So all of us need to maximize this experience to be able to build our businesses and to make this particular several days that we spend together really have a return on that investment. And if it's not giving a return on investment, what are we doing? Yes, it's really nice to spend time together and to learn things, but we really want to make this something that will help our businesses grow, our respective businesses grow. And so if the advisors can be more effective at selling, that means the suppliers are therefore more effective at their business too. So we're all completely aligned. But this is a marketing program. It's not a reward. And we're here to do business. We're here to learn. We're here to go take that information back and sell what we see as advisors. I'm an advisor for 20 years, and I was always frustrated that I learned there was too much coming at me in the course of a trip. So it was really hard to remember it all, really hard to organize it, really hard to share it with my clients. And I always felt like I was doing my host a disservice by not being able to represent these great experiences as well as I would have liked to. Sure, eventually I'll have a client who will ask about it and I'll have that knowledge. But advisors are good salespeople. They're not necessarily good marketers. So what we're trying to do is to get the advisors organized so they can not only sell what they see when the opportunity comes up, but so they can take that information and proactively market it to their clients, making all of our businesses easier, more lucrative, and hopefully more fun in the process. So that's sort of a bit of an introduction to it all. We're going to be talking about the supplier section specifically. We're going to be talking about how to set up a Fam trip. We're going to be talking about how FamGuru helps you automate the planning process so that you can save time and spend time with your clients or selling to your advisors as opposed to dealing with spreadsheets. And we'll be showing you how to better engage your advisors before, during, and after the trip. And then we'll also show you how the advisor uses FamGuru to organize the information, their photos, their video, and their reviews, so you know what their experience is like as well. So if that sounds like a good plan, we'll dive right in and I'll share my screen. Questions or comments so far? Good? Okay. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share and bring my screen over. And we're fortunate to have Ellen Gerchik with us this morning from Bennett Mercado. They're actually already using FamGuru. This is a bit of a refresher for Ellen. All right, it's new for the other people who will see this recording. So welcome to FamGuru, everyone. We're on the homepage. And let me talk a little bit about the layout of the homepage, and then I'll talk about some of these tabs up here on the top. So we have the ability to see all of our trips. We have active trips right here, and then we have all of our past trips. So if we ever need information or we want to correspond with the people from those trips, we can go back into them.
Gary, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, it is not working?
Okay. Just to let you know.
Let's try this again. Thank you, Molly.
Now it's perfect.
Better. I should have checked with you all. So here
That's
we
okay.
are. So we're here at the FamGuru home screen. I'll say this again. And let me just take you through the different elements of it, including some of the tabs up here at the top. So we have it broken down into active trips. These are the trips that are ongoing at the moment or in the future, as well as past trips. So you can always refer back to your past trips and go in and communicate with people who are on those past trips or reference the information that you have. We also have notifications. It could be that somebody has accepted your invitation to a trip or somebody has submitted their passport for review, so you get notifications as they come in. One of the things that's really, really important that I want to focus on first is our accounts up here in the right-hand corner. So everybody has a profile on FamGuru, and let me take you through what that is and why that's important. So we're collecting information from all of our participants, the advisors, for example, and everyone needs this information, and advisors have to give it on their fam trips multiple times a year when they're traveling. So we have an About Me section. So name, location. Yes, I was born in 2022. Mobile number, email, company name, location, and social handles. And so that's something that our hosts are usually requesting of us as the advisors. So why not give it to them when they accept the trip? We also have a section for professional information. So when an advisor joins your trip, they get a description about the advisor, awards and recognition, when they started business, destinations they want to know better, and specializations, which is really important. In the future, we're going to have the ability for our supplier partners to be able to search for advisors. So who is a safari specialist or who is a European specialist? Do they know Italy already? And if I'm doing something in France, do I want to invite them because they already know Italy? So you'll have a chance to be able to search our database to see who best to invite. Also, dietary restrictions really important. If whenever anyone's coming on a fam trip, everybody has. It's rare that somebody doesn't have some sort of restriction. So we're here to collect that information, put it in the advisor profile, keep it on file for them, and when they accept your trip in FamGuru, all of this information comes over to you so that you can have it organized. You can share it with the hotels and the local staff on the trip that need to see this information, and to do so automatically instead of copying and pasting into a spreadsheet. We'll be talking about that a little bit later as we go along. So anyway, that's just a little bit about the profile. And so what I'll do now is I will go over to back to the homepage. And let's say we want to create a new trip. Very simple to do so. You're starting a fam trip, and what we have here is a section where you're going to choose your hero image. We have some placeholders here if you need one to start. And this will be the image that represents the entire trip before, during, and after, 2 years after. The advisors might have several different trips in their FamGuru 2 years down the line. So we want a nice image that it will jog their memory. We have a name. You're going to choose your company's organization. And everybody has their own personal organization, and then you can also set up your company organizations in FamGuru so you and your colleagues can share that information. We have a start date and an end date. What do we have down here? First of all, we have trip invitation text. When you invite somebody into your trip on FamGuru, they get an email and they are invited to accept your trip. They will click through on the email. If they don't have a FamGuru account already, they will set one up. And then once they do, they'll see your trip and can accept their participation through FamGuru. You're able to add a sentence or two. Hey, we're having, thank you for your interest in our upcoming trip. Please accept this invitation and you'll be connected to us on FamGuru, which we're using throughout the trip to take notes and photos. And so they'll see that in their inbox. The trip description is separate from that. This is something that is going to be part of the trip from here until whenever in the future. So advisors can refer back to the few sentences that you put here. What's the nature of the trip? What are we going to learn? Why is this important? And so this is a snapshot of what they're going to experience, and one that they can refer back to after the fact to remind themselves, oh yes, that's what we did. That's what we saw. I'm not actually going to create the trip right now. It's very simple to do so, but if we were starting from scratch, that's what we would do. Okay, so now let me go to another trip and just show you a little bit about a trip itself. So I'm going to go to this very simple one in Chicago for July, my home city, by the way. And what we have here is a title. if we want to change any of the title or the dates, we can come back to this page by using the edit pencil that we just saw. Anywhere you see the edit pencil on the screen, you can edit something. So that's important to remember. And what we have is a snapshot of the trip. Nobody's been invited yet. We'll talk about invitations in a moment. You have a snapshot of the people who are on the trip, latest notifications, and then we have the itinerary here on the right. And as one moves through the itinerary, you will be able to see what's up next. So it's in the future, so we just see the first thing on the itinerary, which is the 16th of July. So one thing to mention, the advisors are going to be using an app while they're on the trip, but everyone has access to the app and everybody has access to the website. They're interchangeable. So when you need mobility, you can work in the app, and the advisors will have their own version of this. If we have time and want to get into that, we can do that later. We'll focus mostly on the web today. But the important thing is you can be mobile when you want to be mobile, but if you'd rather type up all your notes and upload your photos through the web because it's easier for you, absolutely possible. They sync within a couple of minutes of one another, so you can move back and forth. Sometimes it's easier when you're traveling to take the photos on your phone and upload them there, but maybe you want to actually type up your notes on the computer. You can do it that way. We also have dictation, for what it's worth, into the phone if you would rather take your notes that way. So this is just a snapshot of what's going on with the trip, and there's our hero image that will be with the trip before, during, and after. We'll start here. We'll be going through the different elements here on the left, but let's start with the itinerary. And what do we have in the itinerary? Well, in an itinerary, we have 4 different things that we can add to an itinerary. We have a hotel stay. We have a site inspection. So if you're not actually staying at the property, but you're visiting the property, you would use a site inspection. We have restaurants, and we have other elements. So if it's not one of the other 3, it will be an other element. I'll mention briefly that we will be having a cruise section, hopefully sometime in the next few months. That's something that's highly requested, especially by the cruise lines and the advisors. That will be coming. We know that's an important part of the travel industry. So I will also mention that once you invite an advisor to the trip, they're going to be able to see the itinerary. However, if you want to work offline and not have them see all the changes that you're making, or if you're not ready for them to see the itinerary, you can put this in hidden mode, or you can put it in published mode over here. And therefore the advisor, when they come in, will not be able to see the itinerary when it's in a hidden status. If it's in a hidden status, they might ask you where it is because they're expecting to see it. So just be prepared for that question. But what I also recommend is that one puts together at least a skeleton of the itinerary when you're ready to start inviting advisors. We know that's going to change, times will change, elements will fill in. That's okay. But then the advisor will always have the most, as you add things or change things, the advisor will always have the most up-to-date itinerary. No more emailing the next version of the itinerary or the next version of the itinerary. It's always on their app or on their website, so they know what's going on. If you have some flights that you're doing, and you could use an other booking, and for example, say flight from LAX to ORD on this date, you can add that as a flight. I also like, for any given destination, to add a notes section, because what are we doing here? We're creating a structure for the advisors to be able to take their notes and add their photos. And sure, the advisors wanted to do their site inspections and collect the information from a given hotel or a given restaurant. However, they also want to make notes about the destination. And so what did they think of Chicago? How were the people? What was the weather like? Not so good today. And so you want to be able to give them a place to be able to take those notes as well. So I think that's a really nice addition to any itinerary. And if you change destinations, you can do another one on the date that you change. Ellen, do I see a question?
Yeah. So do you so you put that little note section right into the itinerary?
I do, yes.
Okay. So that way they know that, I mean, any of us could add notes in there. Or is that just for the individual advisor as they're traveling? Is that their section that only they would see those notes, or would everybody?
So when you put something in the itinerary like this, everyone who's part of your itinerary will see everything in the itinerary. At the moment, we don't have the ability to customize an itinerary per advisor. It goes to the group.
That's fine. So is there another place if somebody wants to take their own notes, or this just goes in for everybody?
So this would go in for everyone. One of the things that we have spoken about and just haven't gotten to right now is how to allow the advisor to add their own little sections if maybe they are not already included by the host. And I do believe, I think that's kind of what you're referring to. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. But this is
So
great because this helps everyone, because everyone sees things in a different way. So I think that this actually is a great way for me, especially to tell people if they have notes, that's something we can all share. You sometimes forget how many rooms or the bed configuration or something like that
right.
going through the hotel. So I think that this is really a good place that everyone can share these notes. So that's good. Thanks.
And we'll be talking a little, you've seen this before, Ellen, but we'll be talking about the public notes that the advisors are entering and how we can compile that for the whole group, as well as for the hoteliers or the DMCs that you're working with on location.
For us, it's great that we can send those notes back to the hotels that are hosting us. So,
Exactly.
helpful. So when I'm creating this, then I would just use the plus sign there and then just add a section and call it notes.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly right there.
Got it.
So, okay. What I'll talk about now is this is something that's a little different. This is a little newer. Let's say we now want to add our hotel. We want to add a hotel stay. We can do this by searching from Google. This is Google Maps enabled.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm going to show you one other thing that we have. We now have a library. So if you use a certain hotel, a certain activity, a certain restaurant on all of your fam trips, you can save it in the process to the library. So what I'm going to do here to add my hotel that we're staying is I'm going to select it. I'm going to select the Conrad Chicago. It's going to bring in what I've already saved. I don't have to type a darn thing. It's already there. I can still, but when you're adding a hotel inspection or a visit, or a stay, you can also add contacts, description, website. The Conrad isn't totally built out, but I could have all of my photos for the hotel in there. I could have a nice 2 or 3 sentence description, website, etc. And I could, I just automatically pull it in from my library. And the library can be your one source of truth.
So that you just clicked on hotel and then it went into Google. And
well, actually, you have to, if you know it's in the library, you click on the button to go to the library and you can pull it in from the library. I'll show you.
Backtrack that one again so I can see where it was.
I'll show you in a moment. I'm just going to save this one and put it into the itinerary, and then we'll do a different one using Google and show you how that, but I'll show you where the library was again. Okay. So I put a hotel stay in the Conrad Chicago. I didn't have a stay very long, but I am going to edit this and just change the dates a little bit. So I'm checking in on the 16th. I'm going to check out on the 19th, and then we'll save this, and that's going to show up in my itinerary. You'll see, because we're staying in this hotel all the way through the trip, it's going to show on every day of the trip. So if somebody needs to add some notes about the hotel stay and they happen to be on day 3, they can just click into it and add some notes. And so now we see the checkout on the final day. Let's actually, on this day, let's add a site inspection. And what you see here is where you can search for a hotel on Google, and we'll do that in a moment. Ellen, if you knew you had this hotel also in the library, you would click this button to go to the library.
Right. Okay.
But in this case, we're going to do a Google search for Four Seasons Chicago. Okay. And it pulls it up here. So we'll select it. And we have the ability it brings all of this in from Google. You can modify any part of this. It's just since it's a site inspection, it's only on a specific day. We don't have an end date. And I can add all my contacts for the hotel. I can add a description. It could be the consortia description that you are affiliated with. Google doesn't carry the phone numbers in this data pool, and so you would want to add that as well. And if you just go to next, you're able to browse or drop any professional images. I love this because what you're doing is you're building the professional portion of the FamGuru archive. So as a hotelier is able to add their best photos here, this gives the advisors something prior to the trip to warm up their social media audience, because any photo that's in FamGuru can go onto their social media. It can be texted to a client, it can be emailed to a colleague, anything, anytime that any media can be sent to their Instagram. So we encourage our hoteliers to be able to add the photos up front so that that's there, so the advisors have that, something to refer back to. You don't have to send them the photo archive afterwards. You're doing it up front. They don't have to dig through their email for the follow-up email that you sent. Likewise with files, you have spa menus, you have restaurant menus, you have activity information, latest press release on the hotel. You can drop that here as well. always there for the advisor to refer to prior to the trip, during the trip, and for years after the trip, so they don't have to hunt and peck through their email. So they have all your information at the ready.
With regards to photos, I kind of did an overload, if you recall, on my last trip. And can you now hold more photos, or it's still limited to a certain amount? Because for the post-trip report, I wanted to send out some things back to the hotel, and I kind of had too many.
Yeah, I think Ellen, I would need to test that with you. Yours was certainly the most complete, shall we say, photo report that I had seen in a while. And so we'd have to just see where we are on size. And we've done some improvements to our reports. You'll see that momentarily. And so I'm hoping that we've addressed some of that as well. So,
and also, if you could at some point let us know like how many it can take, so that way I don't.
That's a good point.
Too many, then I just know what my limitation is, so that way I can run that report without having to backtrack.
Right. And this is part of why I'm so glad that Melissa is here with us, because she can take this kind of feedback directly back to the team. She's in charge of helping decide what our priorities are and getting it done. So I love that she's here to hear this direct feedback from you, Ellen.
And you know that, I mean, as an advisor yourself, you know that, forget that. You know that the visual is very, very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
625.
Okay, I'm going to keep moving on, Ellen, and certainly we can have a sidebar on these specific things after we're done today too. Happy to do that. Okay, so you can start to see how we're adding things to the itinerary. We now have the site inspection here on the Four Seasons Chicago. If we need to edit it, we just come over here and click the pencil and we can edit anything about it. If we want to add this to our library, we now have a button here in our library. If we want to delete it, we just get rid of it here. So really simple to work with in the itinerary. So again, we're building the structure that the advisors will be using to be able to take their notes and their insights and add their media. Right. So anyway, let's talk about the members of the trip. So we have the ability here to invite members. And if you do that, you will just add in somebody's email. And then you will choose what's their role. Are they a participant on the trip? Are they an admin on the trip? An admin has the permissions to do editing within the trip, or are they a viewer? This can be an advisor. It can be one of your colleagues at your company. It can actually, if you're collaborating with the DMC locally or another hotelier locally, you can give them admin access to do their portion of the itinerary. So, and nobody has to have a FamGuru account to be a participant, or if they're invited into a trip. So anybody can be part of your trip. So just something to keep in mind there. What I love about this though is we have the ability to take a closer look at each of the participants. And so what we have here, actually let me go back a second. I'm gonna go back to the members. We don't have a lot on this trip, but you see this section called requirements, and you'll see 0 out of 0. Well, sometimes we need information from our participants, right? So let's go over to the requirements section, and we're going to add a requirement. What does that mean? Well, let's say we need the person's passport. So we're going to continue, and we're going to have the name of the requirement is a passport copy. We want them to have this to us by, let's say, May 1st. And the description is already there. You can modify it. We have the ability to compile this information into a spreadsheet, where some of this is not 100% functional yet, but Melly and her team are working on this. But if we tick this box and we create this requirement, we will be able to pull this information eventually into a spreadsheet. And so what we have now is a requirement. If we go back to our members and we say, oh, Carrie, okay, we have one requirement total. Carrie has not done her requirements, so we know Carrie's a little bit not in compliance, but this is a place where you can check if all of your participants are doing what you need them to do. And by using the requirements, they're getting an email in their inbox, and they're getting an email in their inbox as that additional emails as that deadline approaches. They're also getting notifications through the app. Hey, don't forget to send us your passport copy. We need that. And so if you're a week before the trip and you've got people who haven't done anything, you have to start questioning if they're even coming on the trip. But what you can see here is that my passport's not been submitted. If I want to submit it, I can go here and add my info and then upload a copy right here. They also have the opportunity to delete the requirements after the trip, because the host doesn't really need my passport after the trip concludes. So just a little bit about that. You get a notification on your side as the host. Carrie has submitted her passport. Please accept it. You'll come back in here. You'll see pending, and then you can go and make sure I didn't upload a picture of my dog. Assuming I didn't, you would accept it, and then check mark that 0 out of 1 goes to 1 out of 1. So that's really, really nice to have. Also, with respect to to the group, you can do what's called an export list. Now, if we had 10 people in this group, it would export 10 rows of data, but this is going to create an Excel spreadsheet. And most people are working with an Excel spreadsheet at some point or another to compile everybody's different information so that they can send it to the local hotels and DMCs. So let me open that up. Ideally, it will open. Here we go. And we'll see what's inside of it. Eventually. It does work, I promise. There we go. So we're going to, what you see here is a series of columns. And so you see my role and all my first name, my last name, what kind of a person an account type I have, email, and all of my main information, including my dietaries. So you can expand this and clean it up a little as you see fit. And over here would be my passport copy. There will eventually be a link to that copy of that passport within the spreadsheet. So the host, you can give this to your on-site people. They can download that passport copy, and you don't even have to, you don't have to attach 15 passport copies to an email. It's all going to be right here for you. If we do other requirements such as arrival and departure details, and Ellen, this is new, you haven't seen this yet, but arrival and departure details, we now have the ability to put those into this spreadsheet. So we'll have a column here for arrival details coming in on United Flight 123 at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you know when to pick them up at the airport. Likewise for the departures. So we have some new capabilities around requirements that are very, very helpful and time saving, so that you don't have to take all this information out of an email, put it in a spreadsheet, and then send it 15 different versions to the hotel. Ellen's got a big thumbs up. I totally understand why. But anyway, the idea is to save you all time. Exactly. I'm not going to save this for the time being, but I will go back into my my section here. Now, let's say I want to give back of house at a certain hotel a dossier on my participants. I can export a PDF of that individual, and what comes up is a really nice review of everything that's in that profile that we had taken a look at before. So here's Carrie and her details, her social, her professional details, a little bit about her, and most importantly, the dietary is all right there. So we have it in the spreadsheet so that you can give that to food and beverage. But if you are having dinner with the general manager and he just wants a snapshot of who is this person and where are they from and what is their picture, that can be shared with the GM in advance, and he can be ready for that dinner, for example. And go ahead.
Can that go into an email? Can I send that in an email to a GM or our hosts?
At the moment, I don't think we have the ability to do it automatically. We'd have you download it into a folder somewhere and have you attach it to the email, but that's something we can consider for the future, for sure. But just another way so that you're not having to copy and paste things, and it's a way to transmit information that you're probably already compiling and do so automatically and keep you from doing administrative work when you should be interacting with your own, with your advisors and your other customers. So just a little bit there about that. I also want to talk a little, I'm going to go to a different trip right now. I want to go to one that's a little bit more built out, a past one. So if I go here and I go to my past trips, I'm going to do, let's see, where am I going to? So many of them. I'm going to go to this one in Bermuda, which has quite a lot of data inside of it. Going back to this members section, we also have the ability to look at what a given advisor is doing on the trip. And so we can see that Carrie, as she's going along, is interacting with the trip, the different elements of the itinerary, and she's doing her reviews. So here's what she said about this particular resort, and here are the photos that she uploaded. And here is what she wrote in the general notes section that you set up for the group. and any that was really long. I won't go down that one, but you can see what they've said on an individual basis. You can have a look at it, and what I'll say is this is what we call their public information, their public notes. And so advisors have two sections. We'll review that in a moment, but notes that are public that will be shared with their host and can be shared with other members of the trip. They know that this section is public, so we ask them to be constructive and give good feedback, because everybody needs feedback about what's going on. You need to know what they thought, so improvements can be made. And then they also have a private section, because advisors were very adamant with us that they needed a place to say, I didn't like this experience, or this is not consistent with my clients, but they didn't need to necessarily share that with everyone. So they have a section for that. As long as we're talking, oh, go ahead.
How is this different from the notes that you put in the itinerary, or is this it?
No, this is different from the notes that you put in the itinerary. As a host, you are going through and you're creating the itinerary. If you know, the notes that you create in that itinerary, that is basically there for the advisor information. Okay. What the advisors are doing, so let's go to a hotel stay here in this property. So what you have down here is what you have the, I'm just going to put in example notes right here. Okay. Right. So this is what you're putting together for the advisors, the description of the hotel, so that they have some context. Right. So we're going to save this. And so that's what you do as the host. Now, when the advisors want to take their notes, and they can do this on the app, or they can do that here in the web. So we'll show you where they put their insights and photos and video right here. So they have the ability to come in and add notes. I'm going to show you if we were doing this the first time, they can add for this hotel. What did I think of it? I think it's very good, 5 out of 5. These are my photos some general photos of the hotel that I uploaded, and my public comments, things that I want to share with my hosts. I'd be happy for my colleagues on the trip to see this. We also have our private notes section. Again, maybe this is just so detail oriented, it didn't need to be shared with everyone, or maybe there's things in here that I don't want to share. Totally fine. We also want them to be thinking about who should be staying at this resort, so they can be thinking about selling it when they get it back, jogging their memory. And then specific clients, who came to mind, the Jones, the Smith, so they can come back later on and say, oh, that's right, I must share this experience with that particular client. So we're getting them to think about the after part of the trip, the return on investment part of the trip here. And so what you see as the host in my profile, these are the public comments only. You do not see the private notes. So it's what they've added, not what you added when you were creating the itinerary. It's what they added while they were traveling on the trip that you see in the reviews section on FamGuru.
So that's okay. So I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused, because you said that at this point there was no section for them to put private. They could only put whatever.
Well, you as the host can only see public. Okay, this is I'm logged in as me, so you can see everything right here. This is not so you're seeing my account. But if you were looking at if we go back to the members of the trip, all you can see here under Carrie, you as Ellen, the host, you can just see my reviews, and these are my public notes. You will not see my private notes in this section. And when we compile the list of information from people, we are compiling the public notes and not the private notes. As long as we're talking about that, I want to show you the compilation. And Ellen, you've seen this before too. But if we go back to our trip, you can take all of these public notes that the advisors have put in and run a report. So we're going to export the public notes. So you'll see Carrie's public notes, since I'm the only one on this trip pretty much. But if you had 5 advisors, you'd see each advisor's notes and photos in turn. And what this does is and we put it into a Word format. And this allows you to annotate it. It allows you to share this with your hoteliers. It allows you to share this with your advisors to round out their understanding and their information on the trip. And what I also like is that you could anonymize this, take out all the selfies and take out all the advisor names, just call them advisor 1, 2, and 3, and use it as a sales tool, because it's a beautiful compilation of what everybody thought about this destination. We have a little pagination work to do here, pardon that, but here we are. and we get to the different elements of the itinerary that the advisors have done some sort of review or given a rating to. So my flight, I gave a rating to. My general notes, these were my general notes that you can see. There's a lot of text there. So I'm just going to scroll down, and it also gives the photos that I had in my general notes. And then we can also go down to our hotel, and let's see, my notes on the hotel. So this is what I thought. I loved it. 5 out of 5. We thought this was great. And then my notes, my photos that I uploaded, my public photos that I uploaded here in the hotel, also just so that you can see what they think is interesting. And this is something that you don't even have to send a survey afterwards. You just need to make sure the advisors do their public notes. You can put this as a requirement, do your public notes by 1 week after the trip. And that is something that FamGuru will continue to ping them and say, your deadline's coming up, do your public notes. And I actually think that's a reasonable request of everybody on your trip. They should be giving you feedback as you go along. So that's hopefully, I know there's a lot here, but hopefully that's giving you an idea of how we can take the information that's being gathered, either gathered from the itinerary, the advisors prior to the trip, or gathered by the advisors during the trip, compiling it for easy use and sharing. What the advisors are also doing is they're creating a report of their, whoops, that's the wrong thing. They're creating a report of their own specifics, including their private notes. And they can export a trip report to go to their clients if they choose, or to go to their agency. So if they're part of a 400-person agency, then this is a way to gain further exposure for you, the supplier, of that advisor's one experience. So here's the snapshot of the itinerary. Then we go into the specific elements of the trip. I know there's a pagination issue here. Melly's aware of these. And then we go into my public notes. So these are the exact same things we just saw in public, but now we have my private notes down here. I just had a little bit in private notes, and we have public and private here too. And
so I can send this off to the hotels that are hosting us.
No, this is something that the advisor only does. This is for the advisor. If the advisor shares their entire report with you and says it's okay, great. But these are their impressions, including private, so it needs to be with their permission. But they need a report for their colleagues, right? They need a report for their clients. So they want to be able to share all the nitty-gritty details, because that's what their colleagues are hoping to hear from them when they get back. So once again, we come down to the hotel and all the way down to the different areas of the hotel. Anyway, you get the idea there. I want to keep moving along here because we have some other things to cover. I just will also say, when you're an advisor and you're doing, if we go back to our itinerary for this property, you have the ability to, in adding your insights, you also have where you can take room notes. These are the specific rooms, and those are my photos of that specific room. You can do the dining and drinking, the food and beverage outlets. You can take note of the different wellness areas. You can add the gym, the spa, the other, and take your notes there. And common areas, which I love. So which helps me remember to go see the beach, to go see the kids club from a family specialist. And so it encourages the advisor to engage more deeply with the property. And again, they can do this on their app as well. Coming back, we'll keep moving right along here, and maybe Ellen, let's try to save the questions for the end now, so we can finish up in a reasonable time here. We have something called a shared gallery. So this is something that you can preload with your professional photos. This is something the advisors can take from their app and put onto social or to share in advance. Hey, I'm going to Bermuda. Anyone have anything they want me to check out for them? Happy to do so. And when they come, but also while they're traveling, the whole group can add images to this gallery and share it with one another. And when they come back, they can select the images, download what they love, put them in their next email newsletter about everything that they experienced. And then they have yet easy marketing material all in one place. So they can give it to their marketing person and say, here's all my notes, here's all my photos, you write the newsletter. Amazing, right? We also have the ability to upload just general files. So if you have information about the destination, it could be entry requirements, packing list, other seasonal information, temperatures that you want to share about where you're visiting. Totally cool to do that. You have a space for hotel specific things within the hotel section, but this is meant more for general information. We've talked about requirements. You won't go too much more in there. However, this one's a little newer, and Ellen, you would not have seen this before, but now within a group, we have the ability to chat to one another through FamGuru. We're on a mission to replace the WhatsApp group because after, there's a lot of photos shared, there's a lot of conversation back and forth, but after about a year, WhatsApp puts that information on ice, and it's really hard to get to those old videos and photos. And so what we're doing is we put a chat function along with photo and video within FamGuru. This will always be there, that everybody in the trip will always have access to this. And when they add a photo or a video, they can also add that to the shared gallery for everybody to see. So we have this way, we're promoting the sharing, we're taking it off an alternative platform, and you can either message the entire group here, or you can set up you can select somebody else on the trip to do a 1-to-1 message with, or a 1-to-3 message with, hey, let's meet up for a drink before dinner kind of thing. It's very easy for people. And what I love here too is people can't leave the group. They're part of the trip. They can't leave this group. So 3 months from now, if you want to email or message everyone and say, hey, how's it going? Or Susie, thank you for that amazing booking. We're really looking forward to having your clients with us, next week. Then you can give everybody else a little FOMO. It's a way to continue that conversation and check in with people easily without having to hunt down, oh, who was on my trip? Or maybe you just have 1 week a month that you go back to all of your trips and you communicate with people. You can do that through the chat. We've talked a little bit about notifications. We also have a broadcast, and this is a one-way message. So if you don't really want to start a conversation, you can just add a new message. Okay, bags in the lobby by 8:15, we're leaving at 8:30, just a reminder, and send. So you don't have to get involved in a whole long chat process that people can respond to. So we're working on ways for you to be able to engage deeper with your advisors, your participants before, during, and now after. You can also do with the requirements. If you want to do a survey, if you're doing SurveyMonkey or something like that, you can add another requirement. You can put the link to the survey in the notes while you're doing that, and then you can have FamGuru pinging them to remind them to do the survey. So there's a lot of things that we're doing here, but really what we're trying to do is trying to make this easy for everybody. We're trying to get those advisors really engaged and really equipped with the information, easily organized to be able to sell to their clients, and to give you the ability to follow up and communicate with them, and to keep this relationship that you work so hard for, those 6 months you spent planning, those 3 days, intense days that you spent together, to continue that relationship and to build that over time into an annuity stream called return on investment. So that is what we're really doing here at FamGuru, and that's the gist of it. And I would love to be able to share a little bit more information with you, after the fact, to talk about it for those who are interested further. Ellen, I know we'll be talking, but I want to just share this next screen for everybody else who may not know how to contact me or us, and put that in full screen mode. And so if you'd like to do a follow-up with me, calendly.com, Carrie-FamGuru, for a 30-minute follow-up to talk about your specific situation, happy to do so. And then you can, all suppliers have an opportunity to try FamGuru for free. You can sign up at web.famguru.app, or you can download it on the App Store. Happy to talk further about our subscription plans. It's either, you can do it so for an annual basis, it's $99 a month times 12 months. Or if it's monthly, if you want to go month to month, that's fine too. It's $129 a month currently. And those prices will remain for as long as your subscription, for the term of the year. And that means that you get access to any new features, everything that you saw today, and unlimited advisors, unlimited trips, unlimited admins. At some point, we may stratify that a little bit, but as we're learning more about what people need and what people value, for right now, it's unlimited everything. So with that, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to bring things to a conclusion. And Ellen, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you for having a look at this video. I'm gonna stop the recording right now. And Ellen, if you have any further questions after that, we can take a moment.